Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Mindful Minutes, where we explore game changing ideas for modern businesses, especially SMBs. I am Tanay Sarpotdar, your host and strategic marketing advisor at Marinoid, a trusted growth partner for SMBs. Now, here is this amazing topic that we are talking on, branding, which is a fascinating world. It's both an art and science, a strategy and an emotion. And while big brands often dominate this conversation, it's the small and medium businesses, the SMBs that we're talking about, that have some more inspiring stories. Think about it. In India, SMBs make up nearly almost 30% of our GDP and employ millions, if not less. Yet, in a world saturated with marketing noise, how do they stand out? So that's our topic. Today we are going to discuss something that's transforming the SMB landscape, especially in India. The topic is branding beyond logos. Why Indian startups and SMBs are redefining their identity. And I have with me a guest, Shantanu Parmar, branding marketing manager at RazorSign, a contract lifecycle management platform. Shantanu comes with almost a decade of experience in B2B and B2C marketing. And we've worked together in marketing functional and operational upgrades. That engagement has been amazing, and I thought he can bring more to the table when it comes to his forte. That's branding. Hey, Shantanu.
Hi, Tanay. Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me on your podcast. It's an honor. And what a great way to start doing things when it comes to branding, because especially for SMBs, because that is one of the segment where most of the brands don't understand the importance of branding, like how critical it is. Because in today's time, whenever we talk about brands, we always go with big names, big giants, but at times we forget about that how important it is for small and medium scale SMBs. Because since the time has been changing, a lot of things have changed since our COVID. Even before COVID, like since 2008-16, when the market has been open for everyone, thanks to the digitalization, where everybody having smartphones. So the space have become so competitive, and that's where the entire game of branding started, and that's how brand have started evolving. So this evolution started, though it has started long back, but we as a customer have started seeing that out and loud over the past a decade, I guess. And
Wonderful, wonderful.
like you have mentioned very clearly, like it's all about strategy, it's all about thinking out and loud and being out there in a competitive market. So I'm honored to talk about that actually today.
Great, great, great. I love to have such different perspectives on podcast and while discussing also. And this is not going to be just a design exercise. It's about, creating an experience, building trust and connecting with your audience in ways that logos alone cannot achieve. This interaction itself is a branding brainstorming session about
Indeed.
your as a brand, right? So let's see. Over the next couple of minutes, we are going to unpack this journey. We'll explore the evolution of branding, how it's gone from logos and jingles to stories and experiences. We'll also examine, what branding looks like today. I would love to know what your thoughts on that, especially from SMBs navigating India's diverse and competitive market. Along the way, we'll highlight specific examples of the company. So I have a couple of examples that I would love to share. I would love to know your, experience around how these companies have successfully redefined or defined themselves also. And it's not going to stop there. We'll dive into their key drivers, how SMBs push to rebrand themselves frequently or, after stipulated amount of time as part of strategy. And it's not just technology, it's the changing consumer behavior that is driving all of this. So you cannot keep one brand identity just as it is and run with it for a longer time. Even bigger brands have had to change a little bit here and there. Their messaging might change, their colors might change, the logo might change. Let's have more actionable insights into how we SMBs can build a brand or rebrand and avoid what are the common pitfalls. Uh, For everybody else, if you're an entrepreneur, a marketer, or just someone curious about the magic behind memorable brands, this episode is for you. And this guy is amazing when it comes to visual aspects of branding. So look out for what he's trying to share. Grab a cup of chai, coffee. I know, that's something people love. And let's get started.
Thank
Okay.
you so much, Tanay, for
No,
the
no,
kind
my pleasure.
words.
My pleasure. My pleasure. So the first section, evolution of branding. So let's rewind a little bit. Branding used to be, all about creating a distinct logo and a catchy tagline. Think about it like, older iconic brands like Amul or Tata for that matter. Simple, memorable, and consistent. But today, branding goes beyond visuals. What are your thoughts?
If you ask me honestly, being a millennial, being a 90s kid, for us, brand has a whole different ideology in my mind. What today I perceive, because for me at that time, it's all about the emotions, the connections. Because at that time it was not that competitive. We have handful of brands in front of us. It was easy at that time, but again it was difficult because to connect with our emotions during that era was totally different. You have
Yes,
to be like consistent with your offerings, with your services, be it FMCG, BFSI, whatever you name it. They knew all the time that customer is first, and we have to value them.
correct.
Over the course of time, that has changed. At that time, the color palettes, the logo, and everything, that was not the primary driving force for the brands. If you have seen till I think 20s and 2010, there's a study also which says that brands used to rebrand themselves. When I say rebrand, it's like either changing the logo, the color, or any tweak. It was happening over a decade, like 10 years or 15 years. Now it is
Yes,
happening frequently because the evolution of the brands have been drastically changed, and it has become so significant now that brands are rebranding themselves not even 5 years, like 3 years or 2 years. Uh, so like I said, like I have seen the evolution of the brands from an emotional connect, from a value connect, to
yes,
now where you are actually out and loud on the face of the people because you just want to stand out. And now
correct.
branding has more become is like, if you're out, if you're visible, then only you are seen.
Yes, it's like an emotional connection, like a narrative
Correct.
that you want to build.
Correct.
Yes,
Correct.
you're right. You're right. And I think it's not just about selling; it's about why
It
you
is not.
exist. So it's why you exist. You want to make sure that everybody understands the emotion behind it. You can't drive globalization, digitization, and consumer awareness all the time. It has to have a human touch. It has to have a human connect, and it also has to connect with all these bigger aspects that people are looking out for. So, color
Correct.
color also drives emotion. Challenges
Indeed.
also drives emotions. Market conditions also drives emotions and stuff. So, especially
Yeah.
Indian SMBs have very diverse challenges and opportunities. So, they're no longer just competing locally with this digital age. Now with AI, it's a global scale competition always, and that has fundamentally changed the game. Any specific example you want to share of a brand that has evolved and that you loved?
If you ask me honestly, I, if I can out and loud say the name, um, I don't know. Somehow I was more emotional when it comes to Cadbury. I
Ah,
don't know why. Uh, because Cadbury is a brand that has seen, I think, everything, ups
yes,
and downs, good part, bad part, but still there is a soft corner for us. I mean, I have seen when I was used to have like small this bar of Cadbury, a 2 rupees bar when I was a kid, and we used to have like that emotion with it, like okay, mom, I need to have a Cadbury if I go to school or if I do something. That brand has evolved so smartly over the course of time that it has not just become a chocolate bar for me, but now it has become a celebration during festivals. People have started doing it, and I remember in 2000 somewhere around 7 or 8 where there was a fall of Cadbury because of the negative branding and marketing, they have rebranded themselves and came up with a smart tagline, where I guess Mr. Bachchan was there, who
Yes.
started, changing the whole brand perception for the customers, and he's like, "Kuch meetha ho jaye."
कुछ मीठा
So,
हो जाए.
so I was like, wow. I mean, how can a chocolate can replace a traditional Indian sweets, because that's a smartness, because you are breaking something which was there for decades, for ages in India. Celebration is all about giving, or taking sweets to each other. Diwali, where you name it, you name the festival. Like if it's Diwali, if it's Raksha Bandhan, if it's a New Year. Now Cadbury has become a part of giving. The
Correct.
brand, it's no more a chocolate bar. It has become a part of your celebrations, and they have changed the name also. The
Yes.
name was Cadbury. Now it is Celebrations. So
Yes.
how smartly they have branded themselves, and you can see the evolution of this brand has changed. And even the ad, the first ad that which has made an impact was that "Kuch Khas Hai, Kya Pyar Hai,"
कुछ
and
बात.
the ground with, like, the guy was playing and the
Yes.
girl was actually jumping down. So
Now they
emotion
have
was
now they
loved.
have a flipped ad.
Correct.
You've
The
seen the
parody has
latest one.
come. The parody has come, which is like reverse. So they are just touching the emotions. So again, coming to that part which I have spoken before also, the reason why Cadbury has an impact, because it has emotions. It
Yes.
connected with me. It connected with the customers and the consumers and audience, because the driving force for the brand was emotions. And when there are
Correct.
emotions, uh, no matter what your brand is, your product is, your services, customer is going to get attracted towards it if
Correct.
you
Correct.
have
Correct.
the right values and right proposition for them.
Correct. Absolutely. Bang on. Bang on. I remember a couple of examples, but mostly in B2B IT space or B2B space, that you can say Freshworks, Zoho, Razor Pay,
Yeah,
Cloud Cherry, Wingify, for creating A/B testings and stuff like that. Right. I remember Freshdesk very clearly when they transitioned from a unified SaaS branding, targeting global SMBs. So that is something that comes to my mind when you say evolved, which
yeah,
is where they came from. Zoho started as a brand focused on affordable, now it's an enterprise grade IT solution, but that is also an evolution. uh, you're right, B2C brands have a lot more stories. uh, I've been intrigued with B2B also a little bit. So
B2B, I guess, Tanay, B2B also can tap into that opportunity,
yes.
because at the end of the day, we all are humans. I
Correct.
mean, emotions are there everywhere. It's just like, there is a stigma. There is a stigma. There is a psychology that B2B is always serious. It has to be very formal. It has to be very
Correct.
to the point, marketing or branding. But it is not like that. You can play around, because at the end of the day, you have to touch the emotions. If you understand
Correct.
your customer, if you understand their pain points, you can do anything about it. So there is
Absolutely.
nobody stopping B2B brands also to do that.
Correct. Correct. That is what is branding today. Actually,
Correct.
it's a dynamic ecosystem of perceptions, how customers see you, how employees feel about you, and most importantly, even how society views you and your impact.
Correct.
So let's talk about some major shifts that happened in the last decade. Now, that is what I have observed. Transparency, authenticity are no longer optional; they are
Yeah.
non-negotiable now. And if a brand isn't authentic, the audience quickly finds out, and
Indeed.
it can be pretty brutal. I mean, you can have a
Correct.
brand going up and going down very fast. Social media platforms have become the referee, and people think they have all the cards to say anything and everything. It allows your customers to directly shape the narrative. So you have to be very careful when you create a brand or rebrand. Uh, and then of course there's technology. So you've heard of AI driven personalization that has come in. There've been martech tools, but AI driven personalization is changing how businesses can interact with customers.
Correct.
Chatbots and upgrades on even that also. SMBs now can offer much more tailored experiences, but keeping with
Correct.
this trend, it can be very challenging. So that's one of the
Also,
reason why. I mean, yes,
yeah.
that's.
So what you have just said,
Mhm.
this is what a customer or a buyer is going to look at it as your brand. Now,
Correct,
if you summarize all of this, it becomes your brand personality.
correct,
Just like we have a personality, we have certain values, we have certain elements that identify as like my looks and all. Similarly, the brand has a personality. So, and you define your brand personality through your values. What value your brand is having at this moment, and your values come
agree,
from your customer, and
agree.
that's what you take forward to all your different marketing channels or distribution channels. You call it, like you mentioned, social media. So I am just going to social media to absorb the content or the communication of the brand, but how I'm going to perceive it, it's how you're going to put it forward, and it has to be value driven. It
Correct,
can't be just hitting the dot in the dark. It can't be like that. You need to understand what your customer is actually really wanted to see, and are you actually addressing what they really want to see. It could be their pain points, could be their needs, could be their demand. But if you do that, you are a great brand.
correct. And that is where even your earlier point made sense, which is why people are rebranding more frequently now, because they
Yes.
have to stay relevant. They have to stay, updated in this fast-paced world. So today something which is running, but after 3-4 months there's another trend that comes up. Now you have to update yourself to that. You cannot just wait on one trend for a year, 3 years, 4 years. And for SMBs, it should be pretty quick. For a bigger brand, definitely it takes a lot of thought process before whether you should rebrand or not. But for an SMB or even a startup for that matter, it should be pretty quick. You have to enter fast, make changes, you'll find your base, then grow.
Indeed, indeed. And I think you have an ample amount of opportunity and liberty also there. Because
Correct.
what big brands are not able to do that is because, like you said, it requires a lot of time for them to adapt to the change. The process is lengthier, it's a very tedious process. And one change has such a big impact that it takes time to replicate it across everywhere. But for
Correct.
SMBs now, it's very easy, it's very simple. They can tap on the marketing trends. They don't have to wait for months to capitalize on that. So if any SMB who really wanted to leverage the current trends, it's quicker for them compared to the big brands. And I think most of the brands which we have seen recently, if I could name the brand, it's the Cred.
Yes.
When it started, it was not a big brand, but the way they have the ad parody that they have started using, creating with influencers, with actors, with cricketers, amazing job, and
Correct.
it has created an impact. Today, I may not be a direct consumer for them, but that brand has a whole different perception in my mind, and it has been done by many brands over the course of time. And today, most of the SMBs who really wanted to be relevant with the time, they've started using a trend which is happening today. If they can go and check a lot of social media handles, there is something going on, and they should do that because ad parody is trending nowadays. 90s are back. 90s, it's coming back in a whole different manner, and
Mhm.
SMBs can tap on that, no matter
Correct.
if it's a B2B or it's a B2C, because
Correct.
emotional marketing or emotional branding is what most of the brands have started doing it.
You're right. You're right. You're right. And I remember, a couple of years back when I was working with a SaaS company, it was a very different ball game when we were thinking about rebranding, and we
Yeah.
used to call it old wine in new bottles. Uh, that's how we used to term branding. But it was a different ball game. You want to change yourself from a typical vendor into a extended virtual team and stuff like that. You had to play it really smart because you had a lot of players, and that emotional connect, people were still connecting with it. Now they have so many channels. People have so many channels to connect. Uh, so you should be very fast in upgrading yourself because they have a lot of options now, and people are aware about how to check those options. Like I remember, Happiest Minds, they rebranded as a mindful IT company way back. Great Tip or Zensar for that matter. it evolved its branding to emphasize its innovation on IT services. So that's how they also, bring the tech part to it. Or some smaller other companies that come to my mind have.
Recently, this the DocuSign also have done. Last it has
Yes,
created a buzz actually.
yes, yes,
I mean,
yes,
in the top 50 most, the top 50 companies who has been rebranded, DocuSign name was there.
yes, yes,
I mean,
yes,
it's
yes.
so. I mean, such a big
And even
giants are doing it.
my last company for that matter, we evolved from contracts, contract management, contract lifecycle management to contract intelligence. That's also branding. You want to make sure that you're growing, you're getting into a bigger capsule and ensuring that it is addressing a bigger problem. So that is also an emotional connect. You want to address the problem which was the biggest at that point. So when COVID
Indeed.
happened, it was one of the biggest problems to have. And then you had this in the center, the contracts in the center, and it was beautifully positioned. So branding, messaging, positioning, all are integrated. So what do you think, apart from these, are the key drivers for
I think
branding
that
or for rebranding?
first of all, relevancy.
Mhm.
Because your brand has to be relevant with time.
Correct.
Because your brand identity, your brand, it starts fading away with time. And being a
Yes.
consumer, we have a habit, that we want every time something new. It could be a product in terms of product or services or software, whatever you name it. It's a human psychology. We want things to be changed because change is constant. So
Correct.
it's not what brand really want to do, it's the ask of a customer, because
Mhm.
customers want things to be new, upgraded, updated. So, and now it has become more frequent.
Yes.
In the past it was not that, but now, because the new generation that is coming, millennials and Gen Z's, uh,
Alphas, betas.
they want things to be like quick and fast and to be changed, and their emotional connection with the brand is very short, for a very short span of
Yes.
time.
Yes.
That's where the SMBs have to utilize this thing, because their attention span time is less. So you have to grab their attention quicker
Correct.
and faster. And also, in today's, I mean, there's a study also, like the Gen Zs, they want to associate with a brand, or the brands who has a social cause associated with them.
Correct.
If you have a social cause associated with your brand, they will connect with you very easily. So it's another challenge
Mhm.
and an opportunity as well,
Yes.
because
Yes.
now you know, okay, what your customer is actually looking for. So that's where your relevancy becomes very important. You have to be relevant. Second, the storytelling part. Nowadays it's the traditional way of branding, it has changed. Emotions play more important role because your span time is very less. You have to
Correct.
be impactful. I just want to share an example with you. I mean, you and I, we both go and check our social media channel, like Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn every day. In a span of 1 minute, how many ads we see, how many brands we see? At least 5 to 10. How
Correct.
many we remember? I
Hardly.
mean, hardly. I mean, it's everywhere, but hardly. But there might be one brand or max to max two brands that we may remember. Not like exactly, but like a glimpse of it. Oh, I have seen this, I have seen that.
Yes.
That means there must have been some sort of emotional connect to it. That means their storytelling has to is perfect because you were able to connect with it. So relevancy and storytelling is what I believe are the two
Mhm.
key driving factors. Because with time, it change, and you have seen, and like we discussed also, storytelling is also evolved over the course of time. It
Yes.
is very different now than it was before. And like I said, ad parodies have again came back. The 90s are being revived again. So we can relate with it, and because that's what they are doing it. This the storytelling has changed. Um, there are brands. I mean, not Indian brands, but international brands have started doing it long back. But we, as an Indian brands, have started adapting it now today.
Mhm. You're right. You're right. And changing consumer behavior, that's at the bottom. That's the biggest driver which is coming.
Yeah.
Millennials, Gen Zs, alphas, betas. There was a recent news item which said, there's a baby which was born 1203, which is probably the first baby of 2025 and beyond. So, and that was captured by a brand. Just imagine. So it
Wow.
need not be your own product and service that you want to brand. You can leverage somebody else's brand as yours. So whether it's sustainability, inclusivity, or social impact, as you rightly mentioned, it it is the bottom line is constant adaptation. That's what I feel is
Yeah,
uh, the rebranding or branding's key driver. You have to
indeed.
constantly adapt.
And also, in usually what happen now, brands usually. So this is one side of it. A customer is, so when it comes to organization, it has been driven by internally and externally both.
Yes.
External factor is your customer, which is like the prominent one. But there is another one which we are forgetting, the internal one, which is your employees, which is your culture.
Yes.
Because your culture, your employees, your values, you call it mission, you call it vision, whatever you call it, they are also one of the driving force when it comes to your branding. Uh, there are brands over the course of time whose vision changed. Today you have a certain vision, tomorrow you have something happen and you immediately have to change your vision because market has evolved, it has changed, and you have been forced to deviate from your current path and take a whole different journey, which is not being driven by the customer but certain circumstances, certain external factors. So there are internal factors also which actually drive your branding.
Yes.
uh, so your vision, mission, your values, at times values change. I don't know. 2018, there's a study actually, especially in US. In 2018, after the Me Too movement, the hashtag Me Too, which was one of the
Yeah. Yeah.
most
Yeah. Talked
controversial,
about. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
happened. A lot of brands have changed their values. Because of that, it has become so. There is one of the factor when it comes to brand personality is the gender. What is the
Correct.
gender of your brand? It is more masculine or feminine. That changed, or that has,
Good point.
I would say, a lot of brands have moved from masculine to feminine, and because of that they have changed their values, they have rebranded themselves. They want to be identified as a feminine brand, the colors, the logos. So customer didn't do anything there. It's the scenario that
Scenario.
has
Yep.
created such circumstances that that brand want to associate themselves, with the moment at that was happening at that time, and
True.
to be a
True.
part
True.
of a social cause, or something that is helpful for certain society. So that is was again the driving force. So there are many factors. If we keep talking about it, it's endless. But these are like couple of examples I
The
just wanted to
important
share.
ones. Yeah. Yeah. These are a couple of important ones that you mentioned.
Yeah,
And I am a total believer of employee first. I
yeah,
don't believe in customer first. Your employees have to be first. Customers could be alongside, but you
yeah,
cannot keep customers always first. And that is what I've seen always with all the companies. But this is my personal notion. If you want to grow it as a brand, your your team is only the one who's going to help you grow. No matter how much business you get, you don't have people to deliver, and if you don't have people who believe in you, you're not going to
correct.
grow. So, and the second part which you mentioned, vision and mission. I think vision should at least stay constant because that's where
Yeah,
your thought process comes in. That how far you can look at it, how far do you look at your business, and missions can change. So once you achieve one mission, then the next mission, then the third mission. But you're right. People, change their visions, they change their missions, and it's a chaos on most of the occasions. Couple of them they don't even believe in their core values, so that's not
it has
even.
it usually happen actually.
Yes,
And
yes,
SMBs do that a lot, huh?
exactly. No, I've seen bigger companies also. So like we have a very controversial discussion that is happening currently of 90 hours or 70 hours work week.
Yeah, yeah, it is trending.
It is hampering the brand for sure. It is hampering. It's probably creating a buzz for the brand, but definitely it's going to hamper. You have people talking more about work-life balances, healthcare, getting the most highest priority, especially after COVID, when people realize that life is not just about work. There are a lot of other important aspects, and you should have a brand that associates yourself uh, as part of your life. It cannot be just the life or something which actually doesn't fit in your life. So if it connects, you'll carry the brand, you'll grow the brand, you'll be the promoter of the brand. You never know. So
Yeah, we call
digitization,
them brand ambassadors.
yes, yes. That's why it's called brand ambassadors. And it is
Yeah,
online, offline. The transition is so fast that
yeah.
I remember a very old example. This is Hilton, way back in 2010. How this is probably an example of a social media campaign, but I'll tell you how it helped the brand actually. So this fellow had a very bad experience in the flight or at one particular Hilton, and he wrote it on social media about it. So he probably tweeted back then. And as a rule in social media, we say never delete a negative tweet or a post. The brand actually replied and gave him a much better experience following his next visit, or it was probably in transit when he mentioned about his experience with Hilton at A location. And by the time he got down from the flight, he had a B location Hilton already giving him a service complimentary and apologizing for what had happened. It may or may not be an actual scenario, but that person actually became a promoter. So that also connects. So if you have an
Yeah.
emotional bond, if you are truly concerned about the person, you're not just talking about it that my brand has social values, I invest this in green tech and stuff like that. You actually believe in it, then your brand actually grows. And then your budgets, your lack of branding expertise, culturally diverse market, it all goes up. You can
Adding
connect.
to your point, I just recently read one of the posts. It was by one of the marketing consultant on LinkedIn. Only I have read it. There was like this catchy line which I read. Marketing is your crush, but branding is your love.
Wow.
So now I can understand why, because you love brand and you stick
Correct.
to it, and that
Correct.
love is not going to happen in like a minute or two. It's going to be like a long lasting effect, and it happens over a course of time. It's a slow process. You start having trust because of such actions that you have mentioned. You start trusting a brand, and brand is all
Correct.
about perception.
Yes, yes, yes.
How you serve your customer, how you serve your employee. Either way, both the factors matters, and if brands understand that, uh, nobody's going to stop them.
Correct, correct, correct. But we've talked a lot about emotion. Let's try and get a little practical. So building strong brands requires understanding your audience. And I
Indeed.
always talk to everybody that your brand isn't what you say it is. It's what your customers say it is.
Yeah.
That's why your point, storytelling. It's absolutely crucial. The compelling storyline is only going to connect with the audience and it's going to make your brand memorable.
Correct.
And when it comes to rebranding or branding for that matter, timing is everything. You cannot do it at any given point of time.
No,
You
you
have to
cannot.
really invest a lot of time uh, into launching new products or new thought processes or positionings or entering a new market or recovering from a PR probably crisis or this that crisis. It's not just about changing the logo then. It's not just about changing the color then. It's
Correct.
more about aligning your brand with your long-term goals.
And so, adding to
What do
your
you think?
point, yeah. So I have done this recently for my current organization. We are also an SMB.
Yes.
Where I think in 2023, the problem statement was that our it's fierce competition. Uh, there is a demand that our a brand name was getting the brand image was getting hampered at that point of time. So the two problem statement, fierce competition and the brand image, was getting hampered. So we knew it deep down that we need to change it, because
Mm-hmm.
I think this is one of the common problem with most of the SMBs these days, because competition is keep entering into the market, and
Correct.
your name start fading away with time. That was the problem statement. So what to do then? Solution was simple: rebranding. But how you do rebranding? I mean, you can't do it like okay, today I got to know about this. Let's change the name. You can't do that. You need
Correct.
to have some thought process behind it. We spend at least 4 to 5 months understanding our customer first. That's what we did. We tried to understand our customer first, what they actually want, what are their pain points, what they really want from a brand, from us. We try to understand their psychology. We did a lot of research, trying to understand their behavior,
Mm-hmm.
where they used to have the touch points, where
Correct.
they interact with the brands. Try to understand that. Then also we did some color psychology as well. We did so, like I mentioned previously. Also, a brand also has a personality. So we did a brand personality test. There is an actual
Wow.
test. There is an actual test which has certain factors like the age of your brand. It's youthful or old. It's time bound or not.
Correct.
What is the value? It's affordable or it's a luxurious brand and all. Tone, whether you are playful or not. So there are many factors, which we considered in mind. We sat together as a team. We all had a big fight because different minds, different thought process. But there was, a solution, because no matter how much we fight, we all know our brand at the end of the day, deep down.
Correct.
We did that brand personality test, try to come up to a common solution, a common point. But there was one more driving force, which was we ignored it actually initially, and then we realized it. It was the core values,
Mm.
because the core values of the organization is being founded basis what we actually deliver to the customer, because we
Mm.
want to have those values in us, within us. Then only we will be able to add value uh, in their current process or whatever it is, the
Bang on.
solutions or services that we are giving. Values driven by us, given to them. That was the driving force for us, that has given us that has empowered us, to come up with that whole test. We concluded that test, and the results were like eye-opening for us. There
Wonderful.
was one color we all thought it came the same. There was one font. We also did the font test. So
Interesting.
so all these brand elements which we talk about, we come up with all of that, but the core, the base was your brand personality, but it is driven by your values.
Yes, yes, yes. And you're right. Simplicity is the key. You have to keep
Yeah.
processes simple. And the best brands don't try to be everything and everyone, everything to everyone, rather. They focus
In,
on what they do the best and amplify. So it could be one shade of color, that is fine. One thought process into a mascot or something like that, that is fine. So if you want to reposition, you have to have a very simple approach. Approach should be simple. The elements could be complex, but approach has to be simple.
yeah, it
So
has to be. Otherwise, it will be a chaos.
exactly,
You will not be
exactly.
able to come to a conclusion, because creativity is subjective.
Yes,
You might like something else, I might like something else. So when it comes to branding also, you everybody's subjective.
correct,
But this is how we perceive. Your perception is different, my perception is different, but there must be a common ground,
correct.
where you and I, we all be aligned to that particular brand, and that's what we all have to find, that
Yes, yes.
alignment. We
And it's
have our
wonderful.
differences.
It's wonderful that you've involved the team, you've listened to your customers, and you've done this test before actually launching. You didn't directly reach out to an agency and ask them, give
No,
us
no,
a
no.
rebranded stuff. You did it internally. That is wonderful. Because that is one of the best practices to keep in mind. You should involve your team so that they feel it's their own logo that's been rebranded.
Because
Yeah,
we know, as an employee, we know our brand more than like a third person. I mean,
correct.
like, I'm not questioning their
Agree.
skill sets or anything. I'm just saying that the driving force, it has to come within your brand, within your organization, because you guys know your company, your product, your services more than anybody else. You are the best
Correct.
salesman of your brand. Nobody else will be. So
Bang on, bang on.
if you know your brand better than anybody else, then you can do anything. And listen to customers. Just because customers are your, they are like your constant critics. It's a good thing,
Yes.
because when somebody criticizes, it helps you to correct it. So it's for your own benefits. So that's
True,
become
true.
with, that's come along with your brand also. That's how your brand evolve. That's how you change for good.
Correct. And there are going to be a lot of points. I know, but let's wrap this enriching conversation for now, so that people get to reflect on a few points which have been discussed, and they get time to imbibe this. We will definitely come more, I mean, more frequently to talk more about the next two stages of branding, I'm sure. But for now, let's try and reflect into what we've discussed so far and what I've understood based on what you've told me. It's first as branding is no longer about mere recognition; it's about relevance. Your audience doesn't just want to know who you are; they want to know why you matter. And especially Indian SMBs, it means embracing your unique strengths and telling your story, which is more authentic and with passion. So that's the first one. Secondly, rebranding is not a band-aid solution. It has to be a strategic move that should align with your long-term goals and market realities. And whether you're pivoting your offerings and entering new markets or addressing a change in customer expectations, timing and execution are very critical. Third, and finally, you can say remembering that the heart of your brand is your audience.
Yeah.
Listen to them, engage with them, and above all, involve them. As market is very fast paced, but with the right mindset and tools, SMBs can not only keep up, but in fact lead the way, which probably bigger brands would kind of imbibe the other way around. So that is what I've taken out from this podcast. Thank you.
Bang on, I think.
Shantanu.
Yeah.
I will hold. Just give me one line. I'll give you time for your final comments. Thank you for your insights. I have already enjoyed this knowledge exchange and your enthusiasm to try new things. We've worked together, so I know it firsthand. There's a lot to discuss. So let's give everyone some time to digest. I would love to know your final thoughts for this podcast, and we will make sure that we catch you for the second, third, fourth, subsequent ones.
Thank you, Tanay. I think it was a lovely experience, to share our thoughts. At least we can inspire a lot of people who are out and out there,
Yeah.
because we have discussed about everything, what are the best practices and everything, and it's a chaos. We all know that, but who's stopping us from there? I mean, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. I mean,
Who's going to clean it? We are going to
who's gonna clean it? We have to do it. It's
Yes.
within ourselves. We have to do it, and the future is bright for all of us. I mean, especially in India, there's an ample amount of opportunity for all the SMBs, and if they understand their customer on time, stick to their values, know your customer first, nobody's gonna stop them. And I want to conclude this with one of the line which was always there with me. I don't know, somehow I always keep it with me. It's from the Jeff Bezos, who has spoken about it. That your brand is what other people say about you when you're not in the room.
Correct.
That's what your brand is, and
Yeah.
I think that's how we all have to perceive our brand. And I hope
100%.
that's how people will perceive this podcast also when we leave this room.
Wow. I like it. I like the culmination. Great. Thanks again. So thank you everyone for tuning into Mindful Minutes. If you found value in today's discussion, share it with everybody who could benefit. And don't forget to like, subscribe and share. We've got more insights and stories and strategies coming your way. Until next time, this is Tanay Sarpotdar reminding you to build brands that don't just exist but truly matter. See you.
See ya.
Bye-bye.